Good, happy Sunday morning, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this week in this edition of Politics with Riley King. Let's begin. New Hampshire, Klobuchar and Gabbard urge public release of Mueller report. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
Join Girls Inc. of New Hampshire to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. Take part in our 30th annual.
I think we need a president that thinks smart.
In Rye, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar answers questions about gun laws, separation of power, and several on immigration, one from a husband and father of two who has lived in the U.S. and paid taxes for more than a decade and is now awaiting an answer on his green card renewal.
It could be yes, it could be no. If it's a no, I need to pack my bags and leave the country immediately.
We have worked very hard, of course, to pass the DREAM Act to change that. But we need to go beyond that.
Also in the Granite State this weekend, Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard was hosted by the New Hampshire Youth Movement here in Durham.
We have to recognize the power that we have in our own hands.
Gabbard spoke about how her experience as an Army National Guard soldier has shaped her outlook on foreign policy.
And take the trillions of dollars that we're spending on these wars and these weapons that make us less safe, and use those dollars to serve the very real and urgent needs that our people have right here in our communities.
Both candidates speaking about the importance of releasing the Mueller report for transparency and accountability.
It's important to make sure that this full report is released so that the American people can read what the contents are.
But it is also about knowing what happened, what the scheme was, so we're in a better place to prepare for the 2020 elections.
These Democrats plan to keep New Hampshire a priority on the campaign trail.
I have learned a lot from my friends Maggie and Jean, and I think they'll be good people to listen to.
Really appreciating the opportunity to get across the state here and to meet voters, meet young people.
Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Democrat John Hickenlooper spoke at a roundtable in Manchester on Friday. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
Join us for great spring savings at Quirk Chevrolet in Manchester. Lease the all-new 2019 Chevy Silverado 1500 Crew Cab just $285 a month. Quirk saves you up to $9,000. Chevrolet, find new roads.
On the presidential campaign trail, White House hopefuls are eager to see the conclusions of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report.
My hope is that they will release as much as possible to the public.
Former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper is back in New Hampshire this weekend, starting with a roundtable discussion at the Palace Theater.
The experience of doing something like that, beyond anything I could have imagined.
Talking one-on-one with AmeriCorps members about retaining young people in the Granite State and how to help those who are struggling.
Right now, the middle class is shrinking. Just because corporations are having record profits doesn't mean the country's better off.
In Colorado, Hickenlooper says he's proven he brings people together. Now he wants to do it in a nation that he says is in a crisis of division.
In a state like New Hampshire where voters may not know who you are yet, how do you stand out in the field? I think my job is to go, I'm a door-to-door person, and I think that going across New Hampshire and talking to people, hearing what they think the solutions are to some of these challenges.
The two-term governor and former brew pub owner says he can solve those challenges.
I think I'm one of the only candidates, maybe the only candidate, that's actually gone out, gotten people together, and accomplished progressive goals.
Hickenlooper has events tomorrow in Concord and Lebanon, and he has 3 stops planned for Sunday. Reporting live in Manchester, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Moulton says he'll decide on presidential run next month. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Join us for great spring savings at Quirk Chevrolet in Manchester. Lease the all-new 2019 Chevy Silverado 1500 Crew Cab just $285 a month. Quirk saves you up to $9,000. Chevrolet, find new roads.
Seth Moulton knows the clock is ticking. The Massachusetts congressman says he'll make a decision on the 2020 race for president in the next month.
We need a commander-in-chief who can take this country forward, who can take on Donald Trump, but can also unite the country when we're done.
If Moulton gets in, he'll be able to stake out territory few candidates can. He's a decorated hero of the war in Iraq, a recipient of the Bronze Star for his actions in combat in the Battle of Najaf in 2004. He says his fellow vets need a strong advocate in the White House.
My bottom line is that veterans deserve the best health care in the world, period. And when I got elected back in 2014, I made a commitment to continue getting my own health care at the VA until we can fix it.
Moulton has been in Congress since 2014, a rising political star. But he's facing a bit of a backlash back home in Massachusetts over his failed attempt to oust Nancy Pelosi from House Democratic leadership, a move he believes was worth it.
Because we had that discussion, that debate about who should take our party forward, we now have an agreement on term limits, which means that the new generation of Congress, this incredible class of freshmen, the most diverse ever, has a real prospect of having a voice in our leadership.
Moulton just unveiled his own proposal for a new Voting Rights Act, which calls for paid time off to vote, statehood for Puerto Rico, and abolishing the Electoral College, which he claims would not diminish the power of low-population states like New Hampshire.
When it comes to the general election, it just means that every vote is the same. That whether you live in New Hampshire or Massachusetts, your one vote has the same effect on who the president is.
Adam Sexton, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire Democrat U.S. Senate House members call for release of full Mueller report. Jean Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, Annie Kuster, and Chris Pappas. The 4 Democrat members of New Hampshire's congressional delegation are in agreement that Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report on the Russia investigation should be made public. For Democrat presidential candidates campaign in New Hampshire. Gabbard, Warren, Hickenlooper, and Kohlenbocher visit the state during this weekend. The 4 Democrat presidential candidates are campaigning in New Hampshire this weekend. U.S. Rep. Tulsi Gabbard, U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, and U.S. Senator Amy Kohlenbocher are making stops in the state. Gabbard has been campaigning in the state since Thursday night and will continue her visit on Saturday and Sunday. Warren is making 2 stops in the state on Saturday and 2 more on Sunday. Her campaign said that on Saturday she will hold a community conversation on the opioid crisis at Littleton High School at 1:30 p.m., followed by a meet and greet at the Berlin City Hall at 4:30 p.m. On Sunday, Warren will stop at a sugar house, Believe in Books in Intervale at 9:45 a.m., followed by an organized event in Conway's Kennett Middle School at 10:45 a.m. Hickenlooper arrived in the state Friday afternoon, and on Saturday he has 3 stops scheduled. On Sunday, Hickenlooper will visit the Littleton Diner with State Rep. Susan Ford, chair of the Grafton County Democrats, at 11 a.m. He will hold a meet and greet with Plymouth area Democrats at the 1766 Brewing Company in Plymouth at 1:30 p.m. and at 5:45 p.m. He will begin a walking tour of Newmarket at the Stone Church Music Hall. Also this weekend, Colin Butcher campaign has announced one stop in the Granite State. She will hold a town hall with the Rye Democrats at the Rye Junior High School at 11 a.m. Democrats press for full release of Mueller's report. Democrats press for full disclosure of Special Counsel Mueller's report on the Russia investigation, anticipates resistance to the complete release. Democrats are pressing for full disclosure of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report on the Russia investigation and vowing to use subpoena powers and other legal means if necessary to get it. And that did it for this edition of Politics with Riley King. I hope you all enjoyed this Sunday edition of Politics with Riley King. I'll see you back here next Sunday for another edition of Politics with Riley King. Have a great rest of your Sunday, everyone, and have a great week ahead of you. Goodbye, everyone.